So on my way home, driving home, I'm making perspective catches. I've already got 3 views of the drawing of the ship. So I know what the size of this is. I know how to make these and put them on my carrier. One very interesting part. I have hundreds of photographs. Hundreds of documents, even historical, about the Navy. Instead of playing ball with the kids after school, I go to the library and I look up everything that I can come up with about different ships. So now I have 11 photographs of the Lexington or the Saratoga aircraft carrier, okay? When I first got up to the flight deck, I'm looking for the turrets. A turret is essentially a movable area on the top of the ship which has big cannons sticking out of it. So now my photographs show 2 of these big turrets in front of the bridge and 2 of them behind the bridge. But when I walk up there, they're gone. My photographs, which are recent photographs of these carriers, have the turrets. I just learned something else secret. They threw the turrets off of all of the aircraft carriers and said, let the Navy cruisers handle that part of the mission. We need more space on the flight deck, and we need 20 millimeter, 40 millimeter, and 5-inch cannons. Now we got them all over this thing.
So you had to go change all your models.
I gotta go change them. Okay, now later on, a lot of articles come out, and I get a photograph of me with the Admiral of Pacific Fleet down in San Diego. He's looking at all the models. Now, he sees the radar too. He looks at and there's the arresting cables. And oh my God, he's got the steam catapults on the models.
All the secret
You know
stuff.
what he does? He makes me take all of those off. Now, I did similar thing for battleships, cruisers, okay? Secret stuff, take it all off. He confiscates the whole collection. He takes them over to the Naval Training Station to use them for training. Okay, I'll back off. Okay, so that then ricochets off the walls, and the Navy, well, we put the models in the window of the Broadway department store on Hollywood Boulevard. Mm-hmm. 2 Navy officers see the models. They see the secret stuff on the cruisers, the battleships, the aircraft carriers. This is secret. They go immediately to Naval Intelligence in San Pedro. 2 of those guys come out to my dad's office over on Wilshire Boulevard. They don't arrest him. They detain him for 2 days and 2 nights. Then they come out to our little apartment. I got stacks. I share my bedroom with my brother, but I have stacks of paper all the way around the 2 bedrooms, underneath the table and on the table. They look at this, and they don't arrest us. 3 weeks later, they come to me in now Hollywood High School, first year, partway through, and they very heavily get me to join the Navy. So I go through boot camp in San Diego. My orders were different than anybody else that graduated from that training center. Most of the fellows go to schools, other fellows go to sea. My orders said to report to Admiral Rick Abada, North Island Naval Air Station. Wow. Okay. I'm in the Navy there, and I'm going to skip a lot of this stuff, but essentially, I am an individual that has to review the information the operatives come back with. Now, if you were to go to San Diego and look over at North Island, you're going to see a tall building like this. There's a small office in the top of that building, which is a secret office for the Admiral. Mm-hmm. This is where the operatives come to. So the admiral's aide comes to my barracks, taps me on the shoulder, and he only says one word: he's here. We drive over to that building, we get up to the top, we go into this conference room, a small room. Admiral Rickabotta sits here, I sit here, and one of 3 other bosses that I have are all captains. So now I have 3 captains as bosses, and now a 2-star admiral. He just got another raise. Wow. He just came back from Lockheed. He just came back from Scripps Institute. He just came back from all the aircraft companies. Wow. Now he's got these operatives coming in. So the operative sits on the other side of the table. He discloses to us these fantastic things that Germany is doing that make no sense. Now I have 8 girls and 3 PhDs as a group. We put together a package from what the operative brings back. Some of it is photographs. Once in a while it's a manual, hardly any manual. A couple of manuals were not even in English, German, or any other language. They were extraterrestrial hieroglyphics. Wow.
What did you think of all these manuals when you first started seeing them?
I don't believe it, okay? And so we put together these packages. I put the package, which is now a contract, to Lockheed, or to Douglas, or to Scripps Medical, okay? This contract is not a competitive bid contract. This is a contract to Lockheed to do this, to take this information, find out what in the world it is, how it could work, what the operation could be, to what's the purpose of this information. So now, for 4 years, I fly this information to every top organization, medical, astronomical, scientific research companies, universities, every place, on a secret basis where nobody knows what they're investigating.
How long did it take you to begin believing the information that you were?
I will tell you, I believe the second operative that came in, this fellow admitted that this was insane. What was happening? You have to try to visualize this yourself, because here you are now over there as a naval intelligence officer, a spy. You see all of this stuff. You hear it. You understand what the Germans are doing. They didn't just get documents from the extraterrestrials. They got brand spanking new space vehicles. Here's one. Here's another one. They brought these. They take you inside. They show you how to drive it. This is totally unreal that this happened like in 1942 on this planet. Extraterrestrial come from who knows where out in the galaxy. Germany gets to be the country that these Draco reptilians pick out to do 2 types of missions. One, to remove all of the people that Hitler didn't want in his country, and every one of them around the planet. 2, to take every man, woman, and child on this planet and put them in slave factories, men, women, and children, to build and construct all these different types of Draco Navy space battle group ships. Wow, this is insane. Okay, so you asked, how did you first believe this? Actually, the second guy convinced us. Now, we don't say we understand it. So, but now I become, well, there's a title, even today in the Navy. He's disseminator of advanced aircraft and research, okay? That was William Tompkins. Now, that the Admiral has presented to all of these organizations like 6 weeks earlier. And remember, some of the information is in hieroglyphics that we don't understand. And if it's Lockheed, they don't understand it either. So if you could visualize that 4.5 years later, Lockheed forms a skunk works. Okay? Now, one of the purposes of these people getting together today is think tanks. So what happened, I did over 1,000 missions to different organizations, many sometimes 6 and 8 times with new information. If you took it to Lockheed, I actually gave Lockheed 3 different packages. Some of it altered what the first one was because we didn't get enough of it. So this is to help them to design and build a spaceship or a propulsion system or a communication. Even the communication systems are totally unreal because it's all dealing with mind control.
And what was the reaction of these scientists when you gave them the seemingly outlandish information?
Real good question, because there was two feelings. One, I don't believe you, okay? But there was another feeling that was, I would say, unanimous. They realized they were in like the aircraft companies. They designed airplanes for the Navy and even commercial airplanes. They knew that here was something that's out of space that they then could get involved in designing and building. So these fellows, instead of resisting everything that I'm trying to tell them, they were tremendously enthusiastic about the whole concept. Everybody wanted to know more. Everybody wanted to know everything. And so, essentially...
Sorry, just a minute. We're just waiting for the door to close.
What you just said here is you had 1,000 of these packages delivered to every top university, every medical university, and of course, mind control and extended life. Whoops, what did you say there? Yes, the operatives are talking about the Germans getting an ability to live much longer from the Draco reptilians. What are you saying?
It's amazing.
It's the whole thing is staggering. Okay? I'm not exaggerating. I'm only saying this really happened. And so think tanks this becomes the head of what would have been advanced design in any of these fields. They become think tanks all over the country. Later on, and I have to say this, okay? My dad was a 33 level Freemason. He did something wrong and they didn't shoot him, but they did make my brother not too smart. Okay, so before I actually got in the Navy, my dad wrote a letter to the Admiral, who's Commander of the Pacific Fleet, that I would never go to sea, I'd never be in combat, and that when the war stopped, that I was to be immediately discharged. Okay? All right. So my dad, having not gotten along with some of the other people in the Freemasons, he can't get a job. So he does selling, all right? So my brother and I both were in the Navy. He didn't get involved in any of this, but now we moved to Pasadena, and I have to go to work for my dad in for the company's called Real Silk Hosiery Mill, okay? So I have to sell women's socks door to door in Pasadena. Now, you know what I've been doing for the last 4 years, okay?
On the jump.
All right, this is hard to do. Then my dad gets fired from that company, so he gets another job for John's Manville Rock Wool to door sell people to put insulation in the wall and insulation in the ceiling. I had to go sell that door to door, okay? That didn't hold too good. So my brother stayed with my dad, I quit. And I used my models to get me a job in Northrop. I worked for Northrop for 2.5 years. I went in again in the wind tunnel department because I built the models and they have models in the wind tunnel department, okay? Then somebody found out what I did in the Navy, security-wise, getting a security clearance. So they put me in a secret laboratory which is designing not flying wings like Northrop does, okay? These are just a fuselage with no wings and no tail. Half airplane, half spaceships. This is what Northrop is designing. Wow. All right, I told you about the flashes that I get, okay? I get another flash and said something is going on in Santa Monica inside a great big Douglas aircraft company. So I quit Lockheed, I take my models and I get a job again in the wind tunnel department. I get in there. It was different this time. Wow. The vice president of the company, Douglas Sr.'s vice president, knew about my models. So he confiscates all the models, makes me put them in a great big window in Santa Monica, and he gets all this Douglas advertising on me.
Did you ever get any of these models back?
Oh yeah, I got them back.
Got it.
But, so he knew about my background too, so he takes me out of the wind tunnel and he puts me in engineering. And there's a fellow by the name of Pete Dion, who's section chief in engineering of communications. So I don't go to work for him, he just interviews me, okay? So he tells me there's some things that are going on that nobody knows. And I'm transferring into a different location. I don't know what they do, but I know there's something going on over here. So he takes me down through kind of a strange thing. You come out of engineering, you go down through a hall that turns to a hall that turns to another hall, which is accessible for an airplane to land on the runway and the animals can come in the back door. Okay? All right. So there's this credit card thing that you put into this and then get the door open. I don't have those, but a telephone call had gone into somebody inside. So at a specific time, the door opens. Now, Pete Dion doesn't go in. He can't even see in. So now I go in this thing to a quite large reception area. A reception area that you would actually have if you're bringing an admiral to investigate his contract of what's being built, okay? So this door, which you all through, they can come in from the airport and do this. So the lady is very nice. She introduced me to several of the PhDs there. This is a think tank. a secret think tank inside of Douglas. They have all of the information. I can't believe this, but after I'm in there for a while, in the files, I find 3 of my packages I had given to Douglas 8 years earlier.
That's an amazing
Wow.
story.
Okay, it's amazing,
Mhm.
truthfully. And what took place there was truthfully uncanny, because yes, they knew about wanting to go to the moon, but we put together programs that went all the way out into the galaxy, not just this galaxy, which were really the mission that was 4 stages of Apollo.
Mhm.
Now, you never heard anything about any of these other 3, never been published, okay? I'm going to tell you what they were. Yes, we had one contract to do whatever's necessary, build an Apollo vehicle or whatever, and get to the moon. We got a contract separately for the S4B stage, the control stage of Apollo, okay? That came 7 years after what we had been doing inside, and 4 years before NASA even existed. 4 years before the paperclip people got organized from Germany. So here we are, second phase of Apollo, to design and build a 500-man naval base and naval bases and operational centers. So we now have the design for study, the design for actually operating as a military organization in the solar system. So we were to go to every planet and or their moon and build these facilities.
Was this successful?
We didn't do it, okay? Second phase, we were to go to the 12 closest stars and do the same thing on those planets. We found out then that Alpha Centauri, being the closest star, had 2 suns. The radiation factor was going to be fantastic, so we stopped that part, and we were then to go the 11 closest stars and do the same thing, plus another thing. We were to set up commerce, not just the naval missions, but commerce. All right? 4th phase, go all the way out in the galaxy, set up commerce with other extraterrestrials, and some cases use the Navy space operation, which is the real Apollo program. You only did the first stage, because when you got to the moon, the reptilians were all around it, and you've seen some of the photographs, okay? All around it. And what you may not have seen in that illustration, it showed these great big vehicles, which one's in my book, Selected by Extraterrestrial, all the way around that part. The Draco guys in uniform are standing underneath there, underneath every one of those vehicles, with their hands on their hips and they're giving you the finger. Wow. Okay, I've talked more than I should have talked, but that's essentially what I've been doing.
And now, what is your main goal in bringing forth all this information with avenues such as the Secret Space Program book?
Okay, what I want, okay, and actually Bob Wood, Michael Solis, all these fellas all want this, but I want this information to get out to the public. Now, I'm going to say something here, and no, I'm not. Can't say that. All right. I can say to you, I am still involved, okay, with the Navy. They have space.
But you are allowed to say these things here.
But I've been allowed to write this book. I've been allowed to talk about this subject, and I'm going to say everything I can say that I'm allowed to, okay? So my reason for being here is to get enough people to understand what's really happened and get involved in this. Not just read a book, like read my book. Get involved with all of these technical groups. MUFON is the top organization on the planet to try to divulge this. It's the best vehicle, but there's a lot of other ways we can talk about this, get it onto program, get people to know what's really happened, because you have more of a problem than you think you do. There's very serious problems with, there's many, many, many different species of extraterrestrial who are here. All of them have the ability to make them so you can't see them. All of them. Draco people, the ones you see that look like us, that's not what they are. They're 9 feet. They have the ability to control our mind and make them look like humans. Okay? They're all over the planet. We need to fix this. We need to fix what they're doing. We need people, we need everybody to understand what's going on so that we can fix this situation, get these people out. We do have friends. We got Northern people, we got blue people, we got quite a number of other species who are good guys. So they're helping us. We need to work with them as much as possible and try to stop this control. I'm going to say one other thing and then I'll get off this soapbox, all right?
Keep going.
This is very hard for most people to accept. And I'm going to say it anyway. Bob will actually say, don't listen to Bill. All right. The U.S. Navy spies, operative, told us that essentially we were only using 2.3% of our brain. We have learned more recently that the Nordic good guys are using 98%. We have been controlled for roughly 6,000 years mentally by Draco reptilians. Go back to the Secretary of the Navy, Forrestal, who was tapped on the shoulder by the Nordics, and we've heard what he said to do, okay? The Draco reptilians controlling much of the governments of every country on the planet don't want that out. So, what happened to the Secretary of the Navy?
Very unfortunate.
He gets pushed out of a 12-story building. We lose him. What happened to Kennedy? They take him out because he was going to divulge this. Wow. How many other people who have talked too much in the past are not here anymore? And I don't want to get into it, but you need to understand missing people on your planet. Okay, I'm going to stop.
Well, absolutely riveting information. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing all that with us.
Okay, it's my pleasure.
Absolutely.
It's really my pleasure. I
Thank
want
you.
it out.
So,
Thank you, thank you.
thank you.